Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of my model railway build, the Ladykillers. In this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to build your baseboard. And of course, the baseboard is the most critical part of your model railway layout because it forms the foundation of everything else. So it has to be perfectly flat, perfectly smooth. And when you get this bit right, then everything else should flow relatively smoothly after that. We'll keep our fingers crossed. So if you haven't already watched episode 1, please do go and watch it now. It explains my whole process and the whole plan, including all the different levels and the plans I have for this layout. And of course, if you hit subscribe and the bell button, then you'll be notified of all my videos in this series as and when they drop. And if you're a channel member, then you get to watch these videos before everybody else. So if you want to see these videos as they're published and before everybody else, then why not become a member, become a Questie? And I'll post the links in the video description below. As you can see, I've been joined by two of my biggest fans, Bandit and Boo. They do say never work with children or animals, so let's just see how this goes, shall we? Now, if you wanted to build a top quality model railway layout and you have deep pockets, then perhaps you'd be looking at building your baseboard with some plywood. Birchwood is highly recommended and around 9mm would be preferable. You'd also need some support brackets and some wood clamps. Top of the range clamps, Bessie, come in at around £100. You'd also need a range of power tools, including a drill with some specialised drill bits. And while we're on the subject, you'd also need a space large enough, perhaps your own work studio or garage. Or if you're lucky enough to have a garden, you could work in your garden in the summer. Well, I did say that this was going to be affordable, so welcome to my living room floor. And as you can see, I'm sitting next to a laser cut baseboard kit, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about why I've chosen a baseboard kit for this project in just a mo. But first, I wanted to talk about the kinds of materials you could use for a baseboard and some of the cons associated with those materials. You could, as I said before, use plywood. The trouble with plywood is it's very difficult to cut, and if you're trying to cut it yourself, you can end up with some delamination at the edges. You could also use MDF. MDF is, though, very, very heavy, and it does have a tendency to warp. There's also a material called sandila, which is made out of recycled materials, and that's used for notice boards, pin boards, that kind of thing. However, it's not very suitable for damp conditions. And lastly, you could use foam insulation board, but the trouble with this is its depth. It doesn't really leave a lot of room under the track for wiring. So as I said, I'm going to be using this laser cut baseboard kit for my Ladykillers project. The end result will be nice and sturdy, nice and lightweight. This is precision cutting, so all the parts fit together like a glove. This is a custom built board. Its dimensions are specific because I wanted the largest size possible that would still fit in the back of my car. But of course you can get a range of different sizes. This one is from Grange and Hodder. There are a number of other great baseboard makers out there, including Tim Horn, for example. But Grange and Hodder have very kindly offered a special discount to my channel members on baseboards. So if you want to take advantage of that discount, then please consider joining as a channel member, and you can find that discount code in the Questies Club Room. I spent around £80 on this kit. It was that much because, as I said, it is custom made. Of course, you can get them for cheaper if you're buying a standard baseboard. Another cost to bear in mind is the cost of shipping. It can get a tad pricey to send these around the country. So another way to keep costs down, you may want to consider picking these up from the manufacturer. Grange and Hodder are actually based in the Midlands, and I was in the area at the time, so I ended up just picking this up from their factory. Now, that said, I just want to address the elephant in the room. You may notice I'm working on a carpet. It's an absolute no-no when you're working with locos and track. The reason being, you can get fibers in your locos, and that can really, really damage the machinery and mechanics. So if you need to work on the carpet, make sure you do what I do. Put down a dust sheet. That will keep everything protected, keep all the fibers off your area. These are as little as 60p from your local supermarket. For the rest of the series, I am going to be working mainly on a table, but for this project, it's so big I had to do it on the floor. So let's get started. Let's have a look at what's in the pack. When your kit arrives and you open it up, you're going to see all these different parts. First off, what I suggest you do is once the kit arrives, you open it up in the room you're going to be working in. Take all the pieces out, spread them out. That way, leave it for 24 hours, and that way the wood will adjust to the temperature and humidity of the workroom. Now, doing that, you open up your box, you see all these parts. I'm just going to explain what you get. So first off, you've got your baseboard top. Secondly, you have your end frames and you have your side frames. You also have these inner sections. These are the cross members, and these bits here are called corner reinforcements. I don't need these for this project just yet. I'm going to be using them in just a moment. I'll show you what to do with those a little bit later. And the most important thing, of course, is your instructions. Do read these. It really is important. To build my baseboard, I'm using the following equipment: my laser cut baseboard kit, wood glue, a small rubber mallet, a block of wood, some paint, and you can choose which colour to use, but I'm going to use black, and I'll reveal the reason why a little later in the series. I have a plan for the outer walls of the layout which will tie in with the Ladykillers theme. Now, once you've read through the instructions, you know what's what, you've identified all the different parts, then it's time to do something of a bit of a dry run. And that means before you do any gluing at all, make sure you know which part goes where, and also check to see that they fit okay. So I'm just going to show you. Now this sounds obvious, but make sure you attach the right bits first. With the first cross members you attach, the slots should be on the opposite side to the side you glue to the baseboard. Again, read the instructions and they'll tell you which parts to glue on first. The benefit of the dry run is also you'll be able to see where you need to glue. With my kit, my longer cross members won't need gluing before I attach the parts because most of the bottom edge won't even be in contact with the baseboard. So I'm just going to align this and make sure the parts fit into the slots. Give it a little bit of a push. Doesn't have to go all the way in. And that works perfectly. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now I'm just going to take it out. Be very gentle as you do this. You don't want to break these parts here because they can be very fragile. So when you're happy with everything, it's now time to apply this, the glue. Now, how we're going to do it, we're going to apply it in the areas between the slots. So take your wood glue and very gently give it a squeeze and just apply a very thin layer all the way along. Make sure you don't get any glue in the slots because it will make it a little bit harder to put your piece in. All the way to the end. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our piece and align the slots and the little bits there and match it up and very gently just push it into place. And then push it down as much as possible. Don't worry about the glue leaking out, it dries clear. Now we're going to take our mallet and our piece of wood and very gently tap over the sections to make sure it's gone in. And when you're happy that you've done all the way along the length, we're just going to leave it to dry. It takes 24 hours for wood glue to reach its maximum hold. If you can, it is best to wait, but if you're impatient like me, then give it at least a few hours before you work on the rest of the cross members. So repeat this for all your other shorter cross members. In my case, I only have one other piece. I'm just about to do the next part. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to align them and make sure the pieces fit. But as you can see, I've got another area of complexity because I've got these slots need to fit together. So I'm going to push it down as much as possible. This is going to feel a bit tight. The more pieces you add to the baseboard top, the tighter it's going to get. So I'm going to start at the cross sections here and give it a little tap. Now I'm going to do the other side. You can see that one's going in nicely. Back to this side. It is a process of doing a little bit at a time until what you're trying to do is get these bits level. So work on both sides. And again, it's going to feel a little bit tighter. That one is just about there, actually. I'm going to give it a bit more of a tap. You'll know when you're done because by looking at the edges here, you'll see that they're perfectly flush and you won't be able to hammer in anymore. So now we've finished with the internal structure of the underside of the baseboard. We're going to work on the sides and the ends and build the frame. So these bits here, these shorter bits are the ends and the longer bits are the sides of your baseboard. And I just want to talk you through the anatomy, if you like, of this piece here. What you'll see is you've got all these holes and you'll see that they're taped over because they're actually removable. Why are they removable? Well, these are for you to put your wires through. So any wiring you've got on the underside of your baseboard can be poked through these holes here. You know what? Another tip is for brief encounter, I use these as finger holds so I can lift the layout quite easily. Now, I know that on this layout, I'm not going to be using these for wiring, but on the back side of the Ladykillers baseboard, I'm going to remove all of these, just as I said, for finger holds so I can lift the layout. You don't have to worry about those for now. You can leave them. We'll deal with those a little bit later. You'll also notice on the ends here, these holes here. Now, what are they for? Well, if your layout comes in two pieces, so you've got two baseboards that you're sticking together, these help you join them together, they're alignment holes, and I'll show you just how that works. So here's your two ends. Say this is the end of one part of your baseboard and this is the end of the other. You slot them together like that, put them together like that, and align them, and then you put your coach screws through the four holes here. But wait a minute, you're not going to put your screws directly through there. Remember I told you about the corner reinforcements? Well, this is where we use these. You put those over there and does what it says on the tin. These reinforce your joins. So you put your coach screws through the holes, one on either side, and Bob's your uncle. There you go. You've joined your two parts of your baseboard together. Luckily for me, I've only got one part to my baseboard, so I'm not going to need those. And I'm going to put this one down for a moment and this one, and I'm going to start with the side, the long part. And what this needs to do, what I need to do with this, I'm going to fit this bit to this bit, and I'm going to use, again, a mixture of gluing and a little gentle pressure with a mallet. So if you come closer with the camera, I'll show you. I'm going to be gluing on, if you like, the positive parts of this piece. So if you look, I'm calling these bits positive parts and these bits negative. So you've got positive, negative, and the same on your baseboard here. So I'm going to glue along the positive parts of this piece and the positive parts of the baseboard. It'll all make sense in a minute, I promise. Okay, so next let's do the gluing and I'll show you how I put it together. So on to the gluing. I'm going to put that there for a moment, grab my wood glue, and we're going to start with this end here. Now, you see these slots here? I'm also going to add a little bit of glue to the middles here. Now I'm going to do the same with, I'm just going to pop that over there for a moment, and I'm going to show you the gluing along here. Right, that's all the glue on. I'm now going to put the pieces together. The moment of truth. So align them to get up with the edges as best you can, and also make sure these centre bits are aligned. Give it a little push with your hands. That's gone together really nicely. Once you've fit those two pieces together, the next critical step is to do this. Turn your baseboard on its side. That way the weight can press these two parts together and help them stick. And it's a really good idea to support your baseboard. The other side, I've used some heavy books. Job done. My baseboard is basically all built now. All that's left is to leave it to dry for around 24 hours. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to paint it. So there we have it. The baseboard is built. It's nice and flat, it's nice and sturdy, and most importantly, it's nice and lightweight. And that's going to be perfect for me when I'm exhibiting. Now, I did tell you that I would give you a cost breakdown at the end of each episode. So let's have a look at what this has cost so far. The most expensive part, of course, is the baseboard kit. This cost me around £80 because, of course, this is a bespoke size, but it doesn't include shipping. I went to pick this up from the manufacturer. Secondly, the wood glue. It was about £7.69 for 500 millilitres, but I only used a fraction of this bottle, so this will last me a good few weeks or months ahead. And then, of course, there was the paint. This was a leftover can, but you're looking at maybe £5 to £7 for this. And again, I only used a small amount of this. If you need to pick up a mallet, these cost a few pounds from your local DIY store. So in total, this comes to a massive total of... So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it's given you lots of tips on how you can build your own baseboard. If you have any questions at all, send them to me at modelrailwayquest@gmail.com. And in the next episode, I'm going to be talking about track work, specifically how to weather track. So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. If you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of all my future videos. And why not browse the shop at modelrailwayquest.com/shop. And to receive a 10% discount on everything in the shop, become a QUESTIE. Join the Model Railway Quest membership to receive that discount and a whole bunch of perks and goodies. Details on how to join are above. I'm Dawn Quest, and this is Model Railway Quest.